Looking to add some handmade charm to your holiday decor, or perhaps you want to make some thoughtful gifts for loved ones. If so, then you've got to check out these 6 macrame wreath ornaments. Here and welcome to BOCHIKNOT Macrame. In this video, I'll be sharing with you 6 different macrame wreath ornaments that you can make this holiday season to spruce up your holiday decor or give them out as thoughtful handmade gifts to loved ones. These little wreath patterns are so versatile in that you can change up the pattern with colors, with beads, without beads, little add-ons such as little leaves and berry knots, as well as a variety of different knot patterns that you can choose from. These are relatively easy to follow along to make, and they don't take up too much time as well. So if you're looking to make them as gifts or for your decor, or even as a family holiday craft, these patterns are perfect for that. And without further ado, let's jump right in. You only require 2 materials for this pattern: macrame cord and some large hole beads. The cord I'll be using for this pattern is a really soft premium single strand cord from our Lush line in bamboo. So this cord is made 100% of bamboo. It is super soft, has a nice silky shine to it, and is really comfortable on the hands. If you're looking for a cord with a subtle sheen, then this would be it. You will need some large hole beads because we are using 3mm single strand cord. The hole needs to be at least 5mm in size in order to fit through 2 strands of cord. I will be using these pink metallic beads. If you are interested in any of the materials I have used in this pattern, you can check out the links in the video description below. To start, we're going to pin or tape down a strand of cord at 110 centimeters long horizontally. Then, leaving approximately 5 inches on the left horizontal end, we're going to take another 110 centimeter long cord vertically, and we're going to make a double half-hitch knot onto the horizontal cord. We should also leave about 5 inches of cord length at the top end of the vertical cord as well. Then, taking another 110 centimeter long cord, make another double half-hitch knot right beside this one. Once done, this is what the pattern should look like. We will now take a strand of 300 centimeter long cord folded in half. We're going to attach it to the right of the 2 double half-hitch knots here onto the horizontal anchor cord with a reverse lark's head plus half-hitch knot. So starting with a reverse lark's head knot, then take the right end, make a half-hitch knot on the right side. Then with the left cord end, we're going to make a half-hitch knot on the left side. Now that the pattern is set up like this, we can continue on with our first shell section. So what we're going to do is bring the anchor cord over to the left. The next vertical cord over to the left will be the working cord for a double half-hitch knot. You do want the pattern to start curving ways downwards. Now, before we continue on with the knotted pattern, take the next vertical cord to the left. We're going to thread the large hole bead through this strand of cord. Now back onto the knot pattern on the right side, we're going to use the same working cord and same anchor cord. And we're going to take the working cord underneath and over through the loop end to make a half-hitch knot, but this knot essentially completes the vertical lark's head knot on the side. But what we just added was a half-hitch knot going under and over, and now we're going to make a half-hitch knot going over and under and through the loop to tighten. Now we're ready to move down to the next cord, which is the cord we threaded the bead with, and we're going to make a double half-hitch knot to the left onto the same anchor cord. Then with the remaining 2 vertical cords to the left, make 2 more double half-hitch knots to the left. We want to pull on them as tightly as possible, but you do have to keep in mind that there is a bead there. If you pull on it too tight, the bead will either scrunch up or scrunch the other way. So you do need to leave a little bit of room with this double half-hitch knot. So you do have to get it as close as possible, but not too tight. Then finish off with the last double half-hitch knot at the end. Now we're going to bring the anchor cord over to the right for a full row of double half-hitch knots to the right. So we had started that first shell pattern by mounting all our cords onto the anchor cord. Now we're going to start our first shell pattern with rows of double half-hitch knots all the way. With, of course, the extra half-hitch knots we will add on the sides that we will go over again. So once we have completed our row of double half-hitch knots to the right, we're going to take the same working cord and anchor cord we had just used, and we're going to point it downwards for a double half-hitch knot. Now we're going to thread a bead through the next vertical cord to the left. Then back on the right side, what we're going to do is go under and over for a half-hitch knot. And then To finish off the last one, we're going to go over and under. Now we're going to complete the rest of this row of double half-inch knots for 3 double half-inch knots to the left. And we have now completed our second shell pattern, but first full pattern with double half-inch knots and half-inch knots. Add 7 more of these shell patterns for a total of 9 shell patterns all around. Once done, this is what the pattern should look like. There should be a bead within every shell pattern. And now to seal the pattern off, we're going to turn the pattern upside down. And starting from the bottom of the wreath, so right now it's the top of the wreath just because with how it is placed, but we're going to take the left and right cords and we're going to thread them through with your crochet hook or weaving needle through the loops on the opposite sides. So with the right cord end, we're going to thread it through the left side. And then with the left cord, we're going to thread it through a loop on the right side. We're now going to take the next 2 groups down on both sides and we're going to repeat the same thing 2 more times. If you need to, you can thread the cord ends through the same loops. As you can see here, we have 3 strands of cords on the right and 3 strands of cords on the left. Now, if your knots are very secure, you can just snip off the excess cords now, or for me, I want some extra security, so I'm just going to tie some overhand knots with the cord ends before I cut off the excess cords. Now repeat the same thing on the other side. Now for the very last knot, what we're going to do is we're going to take that second last cord on the other side, we're going to thread it through a top loop on the other side so that there is a long strand of cord hanging from both sides up at the top. Now we're going to gather both cord ends with some tape and then thread through 1 large hole bead. Now, directly above the bead, we're going to form an overhand knot. Then skipping a few inches, make another overhand knot up at the top to form the handle of the ornament. Last but not least, cut off the excess cord ends. And we are now complete with this shell wreath ornament. For this wreath ornament, you will need a few materials and supplies. To start off, you'll need some macrame cord, and the cord I'll be using for this little wreath is a 4mm hollow braided cord. And so the outer diameter of this hollow braided cord is 4mm. But because it is hollow, so there's not another strand filling up the hollow space inside, it does mean that when you twist or knot with this cord, it does work more like a 3mm cord. Hollow braided cord is great because it is a little bit more flexible, softer on the hands, and I personally think it's easier to use. I'll be using the color terracotta and army green, Christmas colors, perfect for this mini wreath. Now, as you can see, we've used some beads. For this particular demonstration, I'm going to use some silver beads. These beads are approximately, I'd say about 8mm in diameter for the entire bead, and then let's see what the hole size is. The hole size is almost 5mm. So it is pretty tight when it comes to threading through 2 strands of 3mm cords, which is similar to the 4mm hollow braided cord, but it still does work. So if you're planning to use 3mm single strand cord for this pattern or 4mm hollow braided cord, you can fit through 2 strands of those into this bead. If you're using 4mm single strand or 4mm 3-ply, I'd recommend going up a size with the bead of at least a 7mm or 8mm hole for 4mm cord. And then lastly, we did top it off with a bow, a ribbon, and because we are using a silver colored theme for this particular wreath, we're going to use a silver colored ribbon. I got this at my local craft store at Michael's. You can probably find similar ribbons at a dollar store or your local craft store as well. I'll be using a macrame board to make this pattern. If you don't have a macrame board or cork board, that is totally okay. You can just make it on a stable surface like a desk with some tape. Now I'll be using the green color cord as the anchor cord all the way through the daisy knot patterns, and then the terracotta color cord as the working cord for the daisy knot patterns. So to begin, we are going to take a strand of the green cord at 90 centimeters long. We're going to fold it in half, and then on the loop end, so right here, we're just going to hold that part down. So mark where the center spot is. And then underneath, we're going to overlap the cords together like this. Then with the longer 300 centimeter long red cord, fold it in half, we're going to make a reverse lark's head knot onto the overlapped green cords. So bring it up top and then pull the ends through the loop. Pull on the ends to tighten first, and then pull on the anchor cord ends to tighten. Then re-tighten everything. Okay, once everything is nice and snug, I'm just going to re-pin it so that I'm pinning it onto the pattern. And then now, to start our first daisy knot pattern, bring the right anchor cord down, take the working cord on the right, go over through the right, tighten, and then under through the right to tighten. And then on the left, over through the left to tighten. And then under and through the left to tighten. So what we have just made is a vertical lark's head knot on both sides. So half of our daisy knot pattern is complete. And now we're going to thread through our first bead. So we will need a total of 9 beads, but we're going to take our first bead here. And we're just going to thread it through. Now, this can be done easier with some tape on the ends. The first one is pretty easy to get in. The other side might be a little harder because we don't have too much room and space in the bead. So we're going to thread it through the opposite side. So we went left to right here. We're going to go right to left this time. Now, another tool that you can use is I'm going to use a crochet hook to pull the end through, just so I don't have to put on the tape and then take it off after. So it's just like that. I was able to easily pull it through, and then now pull on both ends so that the bead sits nicely in the center, like so. And then now we're going to finish off another vertical lark's head knot on both sides. So taking the right side green cord and then the red cord over through the right, and then under and through the right, and the same thing on the left side. Make sure everything is consistently tightened. So over through the left, under and through the left. And then now, to close off this first daisy pattern, overlap the green anchor cords again, take the right working cord end over and then through the right side for a half-hitch knot. Tighten it, then you should still have a loop here. Take the left end, bring it through, over, through the left side, tighten it for a half-hitch knot on the left, and then last but not least, pull on the anchor cords to tighten everything up. And then our first daisy pattern is now complete. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to angle it that way because we do want to form a nice circle. So instead of making it in a straight line, we're just going to go off an angle now. So we're going to start our next daisy knot pattern similar to how we started the first one. On the right side, vertical lark's head knot, left side, vertical lark's head knot. Now we're going to thread through a bead. Finish off with a vertical larceny knot on both sides. Okay, now that we've finished with 2 daisy knot patterns, we're going to make a total of 9 of these. So I'm just going to repeat this 7 more times all around, just making sure that it'll curve together nicely. So as you can see, we have a slight curve here, so just continue making it sideways and then continue moving it, shifting around so that it can curve together nicely. So continue with 7 more underneath. Once done, this is what the pattern should look like. So as you can see, it's naturally curving over. If yours is still relatively straight, that's okay. You can just manually try to fold it and bend it over like so, so that when you mash the ends together, forms a nice circular shape. So once we are here, what we're going to do is we're going to thread 2 cords through the original loop. So what we're going to do is with the bottom 2 cords, we're going to thread them through top down on the other side. So using a crochet hook for this part, we're going to pull the bottom 2 cords through. Now, if you did make your loop a little loose enough, you may not need to use a crochet hook for this part. You may be able to weave it through, maybe by pulling on the loop and making some space. But I'm using crochet hook just for ease. Okay, so we got it through to the back. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the pattern upside down, and with the 2 red cords, so the 2 anchor cords, or sorry, working cords that we use to make the daisies, we're just going to tie a nice tight double overhand knot. Once done, I'm just going to thread the ends through 2 loops at the back. So I'm just going to thread this cord end through a loop on this side, and then do the same thing with the other end. Find a loop at the back and then thread it through. So once you have it weaved through the back and it looks good at the front, like this, we can snip off the excess cord ends here at the back. And then with the 2 green cords up at the top. We're actually just going to thread the other green cord through that original loop as well, so that they're together. So once they're together at the top like this, we're going to figure out how long of a handle we want, and then we're going to tie an overhand knot. And then we're going to snip off the excess here. Okay, so last but not least, we are going to add the ribbon at the top. So I have a 35 centimeter ribbon here. It's probably a little bit longer than you need, but I like to cut a bit of extra just to make sure that I have enough. So I have 35 centimeters here. I've made 2 loops, and then I'm going to make a bow. Okay, so once the bow is done, place it on here. Looks great. It's actually the perfect length. So 35 centimeter bow for this is perfect. So you'll need a second shorter piece of ribbon. This is around 10 centimeters. And to do this, we're going to thread it through that top loop. So using a crochet hook, push it through from the back, and then we're going to bring that top end through. Make sure you get it through correctly. So this is where we want to pull it through. Okay, so once we have it through to the back, straighten it out like this. And then we're going to place the bow underneath. Now this method is just so that we don't have to use glue for this project. It saves you from having to bring out another tool supply to get this done, which you don't have to. Now for ease, if you do want to use glue to glue the bow on, you can go ahead and do that. But all you need is just a separate ribbon at about 10 centimeters long. We're just going to tie a double overhand knot at the back. Now, I think we just cut enough ribbon to do that. And then once done, this is how it looks like at the back. So turn it back around and you have a nice, beautiful ribbon here. I'm actually going to adjust it so that it just sits nicely at the top, like so. And then lastly, if you want to cut the ribbon on an edge, you can do that. Just gonna even out the other side. And our daisy wreath ornament is now complete. The cord I'll be using for this pattern is a braided cord spun with gold tinsel. Now, if you've seen or worked with single strand cord that is spun with gold metallics like this, then you're going to notice a big difference with braided and gold is that the tinsel won't unwind easily. And that's because braided cords don't unwind easily. They are nice and sturdy, and they keep the same sturdiness throughout. So if you're looking for a cord that is sparkly but also very easy to use, then this braided cord is perfect for that. This is a new product of ours. We are releasing it this week, this Friday, on BOCHIKNOT.com, so stay tuned in the description below if you guys are interested. So with the little mini wreaths, I'm also going to use some ribbon to tie a nice little bow at the top. Now this ribbon is thicker than I want it to be for the size of the wreath I'm making, so I believe I will be cutting the ribbon in half and using half the width of this for the bow. And you can find these ribbons at your local craft store or local dollar store as well. To begin, we are going to take our first strand of cord, which is the 50 centimeter long anchor cord. I have it here, placed down horizontally, and I'm just going to tape down the left end. Then we're going to take a second strand of cord, and this is our 110 centimeter long cord. And we're going to place it underneath for a double half-hitch knot, leaving about 4 inches at the top and 4 inches to the side. One thing to make note of is I am using 4mm braided cord here, but because this braided cord is hollow, there is no other strand of cord inside of the braided cord. That means when making knots with this, it does work more like a 3mm cord. So for the purpose of the cord lengths for this video, if you are using our 4mm braided cord or 3mm single strand and 3-ply cords, then the cord lengths will work. If you're planning to use 4mm single strand or 4mm 3-ply cord, I would recommend increasing the cord lengths in this video by about 20 to 25%. Okay, so to finish off this double half-hitch knot, we take the bottom vertical end, we bring it above the horizontal end, like so, then above and through. And then now we're taking a third strand of cord at 150 centimeters long. We're going to attach it to the right with another double half-hitch knot. So taking the bottom end, bring it over to the left, over through the left, and then over through the right. Now to begin the first section, we're going to take the right end of the horizontal cord over to the left, and we're going to make 2 double half-hitch knots. And then second cord from the right as an anchor cord for a double half-hitch knot to the right. And then bring this anchor cord back over to the left for a double half-hitch knot. So this is the mini U pattern that we're making here. We have a large U that we formed to start, then we have a mini U, and now we're going to start on our next large U. So bringing the original anchor cord over to the right, we're going to make 2 double half-inch knots to start the next U. So tighten the first half-inch knot first, then bring the cord in for the second half-inch knot. Push to tighten, then take the second cord and make another double half-inch knot. Then take the anchor cord over to the left for 2 double half-inch knots to finish off this large U. And then now we're ready to make a mini U again. So following the same pattern as before, second cord from the right, make a double half-inch knot to the right, and then a double half-inch knot back to the left. Once the mini U is done, take the cord from the left over and then make a large U again. Okay, and now we're just going to repeat the same pattern over and over again. So large U, small U, for a total of 7 large U's and 7 small U's. So we're going to end up finishing the last part of the pattern with a small U. So repeat this until you have a total of 7 large and small U's. Once we've made a total of 7 large loops and small loops, this is what it should look like. It should already automatically form a wreath round-like shape. And then now we are going to cut off some of the loose ends and then glue the ends together. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave the top left and right 2 cords as is because those are going to form the handles. But then with the next set of cords down, so these 2 cords right here, we're going to snip off and then we're going to glue those sections together. Same with the bottom 2 cords here. So we're going to start off with the next set of cords down. We're going to cut close to where the knot is, but we're going to leave a little bit. So about, I would say about 2 millimeter. So that's what it would look like. Right here. And then I'm also going to cut the bottom. Same thing, leave just a little bit of cord at the bottom. And then we're going to glue the sections together. Now you're going to have to play around with it, see how it looks like. I just glued the middle sections together. Want to make sure that you don't see the cord ends, so you kind of want to move them to the back. And then at the bottom, we're going to glue both sides. Like so. Trying to blend it in as seamlessly as possible so it doesn't look like it's been glued. And then what I'm just gonna do at the back is add a bit more glue. It's okay to add more glue at the back because no one's really looking at the back. And then just push the cords together so that they stay together. And then, voila! It looks like it's meshed together nicely. You can't really tell where the wreath starts and ends, which is the ultimate goal. And so lastly, with the 2 cord ends at top, we're going to tie an overhand knot. So bring the cords together, and then we're going to tie, and then cut off the excess. And we now have our little mini wreath. Now you can keep it as is, but I like to decorate it with a little bow to make it look like a wreath and make it look a bit more festive. So do have a strand of ribbon here. You'll really just need a 30cm strand of ribbon. I have something that's slightly longer here, but we're gonna trim off the ends. So we're just gonna make a bow with the ribbon. Like so. And then we're just gonna dab a bit of glue and we're gonna glue it on top. So I don't want the loops to be that big because it's a pretty small wreath. I think that size is good. So taking some glue, dab it in the center. We're just going to place the bow on top. And then we've got it. So the ends are kind of long, so I'm using a 40cm ribbon. I think 40cm is okay. Then you can just trim the ends to your desired length. And then now we have completed the mini wreath ornament. To begin, you will need some materials and supplies. I've used 2mm macrame string and a 2-inch wooden ring. The cord I will be using for this pattern is a 2mm single strand cord from our Lush line. It is nice and thin, so it doesn't unravel easily because there are less fibers within a strand, which makes it hold sturdy. So there is a benefit to using 2mm cord, even though it is skinnier. It holds up really well, so you won't have to worry about it unraveling too much. The colors I have here are artichoke and natural on the right. I'll also be using the linen color for the base of the wreath, the artichoke for the leaves, and then the natural for the berries. And then of course, you will need a ring. I've chosen to use a 2-inch wooden ring because it is thicker than a metal ring. And so because we are making holly and we're attaching it onto the ring, you do want a slightly wider surface than, say, a metal ring. If you're interested in any of the materials used in today's tutorial, they will be tagged in the section underneath the video. To start, we're going to take our long strand of string at 240 centimeters long, and we're going to start making several vertical lark's head knots. To do this, weave one end through the inside of the ring, and then leave a few inches on the left side like I am holding with my left hand, and then take the other end and guide it through for our first vertical lark's head knot to the right. The right end should be much longer than the left end here now. And then we're going to continue with the longer end on the right for our next vertical lark's head knot to the right. There should be about 5 or 6 inches on the left end. We will be tying it with the other end once we make it all the way around with the vertical lark's head knots to form a handle. Take the long end and continue with vertical lark's head knots all the way around back to the start. Once you've completed the vertical arcs and knots all the way back around, you should have the 2 strings facing upwards. Our first knot we're going to make with those 2 ends is an overhand knot right above the wreath pattern. Then at the ends, so skipping 2 or 3 inches, we're going to make another overhand knot up at the top. Once done, we can cut off the excess string at the end of this last overhand knot. So once the base pattern of the wreath is done, we can now head on over to making the holly. So to do that, we're going to need a strand of cord at 40 centimeters long. We're going to pin or tape that down horizontally. Now taking a second 40 centimeter long cord, we're going to place it vertically underneath the horizontal cord for a double half hitch knot in the center. So on the center of the horizontal cord, but also the center of the vertical cord. Before you fully tighten the double half hitch knot, make sure that the bottom end is about ½ inch to 1 inch longer than the top inch, just because we're going to be using that cord again to be making a double half hitch knot at the bottom, so you do want to leave slightly more cord at the bottom. Make sure that the double half hitch knot is halfway through the horizontal cord, and then using another 40 centimeter long cord, make another double half hitch knot right beside it. So once both double half hitch knots are complete, we will now take that right anchor cord end, fold it over to the left to make sure that both ends on the left side are even, and if not, adjust accordingly. And then once they are even on the left side, we're going to bring the right cord end over to the left for 2 double half hitch knots to the left with the bottom 2 vertical cords. Now bring the pattern so that the cords on the left side are facing the bottom. And then with the bottom 2 cords, we're going to make a diagonal double half hitch knot over to the left. Then take the right cord end up at the top, bring it downwards for 2 double half hitch knots down on the right side, and then repeat the same thing with the top cord on the left for 2 double half hitch knots on the left side. Now make sure you pull on the anchor cords on both sides to tighten the knot so that they are nice and neat, and then finally make a diagonal double half hitch knot to the right. For the last row of double half hitch knots on both sides, we're going to make a double half hitch knot starting the same way, then include the working cord we had just used with the anchor cord group for the next double half hitch knot. Make sure you pull on both cord ends after to tighten the knot. And then now we're going to repeat the same thing on the left side. Make a regular double half-inch knot, then include the working cord with the anchor cord group for the next double half-inch knot. Last but not least, take one anchor cord from the anchor cord group on each side and use those two cords to make a diagonal double half-inch knot to the left. Now repeat these exact same steps over again for another full leaf pattern. Once we have both leaf patterns complete, we are now going to add some berries onto the bottom vertical strings of the leaves. Taking two 30cm strands of cord, we're going to make sure that it is folded a third of the way through the strand of cord. So in this case, approximately 10 centimeters down, we're going to fold both cords in, and we're going to make sure that the shorter cord ends are in the middle. Now, holding onto this spot, we're going to attach these two strings onto one of the vertical cords underneath the leaf with lark's head knots. Once both strands of cord are attached onto the anchor cord, we're now going to use the outer left and right cord ends as working cords for 3 consecutive square knots. Now we're going to leave a tiny bit of space, so about half a centimeter to a centimeter of space right above the first square knot. Then continue finishing the 3 consecutive square knots here. Now take the middle 2 cord ends, weave it through the hole above the first square knot, pull it through to the back, and then finish off with one last square knot underneath using the same cords. Now make another berry like this onto the other leaf pattern. Now that there's one berry on each leaf, we're just going to take another 2 strands of 30cm long cords and repeat for another berry on one of the leaf patterns. So once we have all 3 berries made, we can now start snipping off some of the cord ends and then gluing the rest of them and securing them onto the wreath. Start by snipping off the ends of each of the berries, and then we're just going to dab a little bit of glue on the ends to the back of the berry so that the cord ends don't come undone. Now repeat that for all the remaining berry patterns. For all of the vertical cords in which there is a berry attached onto them, we're just going to tie an overhand knot at the ends right after the berry knot, and then we're going to snip off the excess cord end there. We don't need too many cords to attach the leaves onto the wreath. All we need is just 2 cords from each leaf pattern. And then with the remaining cord ends in the middle of the leaf, we're going to snip them off. There should only be 2 cord ends on the sides left from each of the leaf patterns. So now we are ready to attach our leaf patterns onto the wreath. So I'm going to start with the 1 berry leaf pattern, and then I'm going to attach the 2 berry leaf pattern after that. Start by tying an overhand knot at the back with the 2 strings, then bring the cord ends back to the front for a double overhand knot. Try to make it so that the double overhand knot is tucked in behind the berry knot so it is not as evident. Snip off the excess cord ends and then repeat the same thing for the other leaf pattern. Now you can position the holly wherever you want on the wreath. I'm doing it on the bottom right side. You can do it in the middle at the bottom or middle at the top. It is totally up to you. Once you have attached both sides of the holly onto the wreath, you are now complete, but if you want some added security for the holly, you can dab a bit more glue onto the leaves or in between the berries so that they are nice and secure together. And you are now complete with the wreath patterns. I actually ended up making another wreath with slightly smaller berries, so I used 1.5mm string for the berries for that pattern. But I actually like the look of both of these patterns. Let me know, do you like the smaller berries or the regular sized berries on the right? You only require 2 materials for this pattern: macrame cord and some large hole beads. Since we are using 3mm single strand cord for this pattern, we do need to thread through 2 strands of cord through the beads, so they need to be at least 5mm hole. Anything smaller than that would be very hard to thread through 2 strands of 3mm cords. We will be using our gold metallic beads from our limited edition series. The cord I'll be using for this pattern is a 3mm single strand cord from our Lush line. Our Lush line is a premium cord line. This cord is made from premium recycled fibers, and it is a part of our Color Swirls edition, which means that there are 3 separate strands spun into 1 single strand. So you'll see 2 different colored cotton cords together with a few strands of gold metallics for this natural sparkle color. If you're looking to add some sparkle and shimmer to your projects, this cord is perfect for that. If you're interested in any of the materials used in this pattern, I'll link them in the video description below. We're going to start off with our 90 centimeter long cord first. This will be the anchor cord used throughout the wreath. So we're going to tape or pin it down horizontally, leaving a few inches at the end on the left side. And we're going to work a few inches from the end. So taking a strand of cord at 140 centimeters long, we're going to leave a few inches at the top vertically, and then with the bottom longer end, we're going to make a double half-hitch knot onto the horizontal anchor cord. Because this is the first double half-hitch knot here, it will be a little trickier, so you do have to slowly make the first half-hitch knot, then take the cord again for the second half-hitch knot, holding everything in place. Now we're going to take 2 more strands of 140 centimeter long cords and make another 2 double half-hitch knots side by side to the right. Make sure you have left about 4 to 5 inches of space on the left end of the horizontal cord. So once all 3 vertical cords are attached, we're now going to take the right horizontal cord end over to the left underneath, and with the 3 vertical cords at the bottom, we're going to tie them onto the horizontal anchor cord with double half-hitch knots, starting with the far right vertical cord first. Then continue with 2 more double half-hitch knots to the left. We have now finished one U-shaped double half-hitch knot section, and now we're going to start on our second section by taking the anchor cord back over to the right. Start off with our first 2 double half-hitch knots to the right. And now you don't have to make the second double half-hitch knot here super tight up against the last section. You can keep it a little bit loose. It will naturally stretch out after we add the bead, but this one doesn't have to be as tight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that last vertical cord, we're going to thread a bead through. So if the cords that you are using are fraying pretty badly, you can use tape to tape the ends so that you can thread the bead through more easily. But what we need is to thread through one large hole bead here. Then once the bead is threaded through, take that vertical cord underneath and then finish off the last double half-hitch knot to the right. Now bring the anchor cord back over to the left and finish off with another row of double half-hitch knots to the left. Now we're going to start this pattern over for 2 double half-inch knots to the right. Now, with the last vertical cord on the right, thread through another bead. Finish off the last double half-inch knot to the right, and then we're going to continue repeating this pattern all over again. So we've made almost 2.5 U-shaped sections. We're going to continue this pattern all the way around until we have made 10 full U-shaped double half-inch knot sections. We're making enough of these knot sections to form a circle pattern for the wreath, but you can actually personalize this and take away sections if you want. Once complete, this is what the pattern should look like. Now to seal the pattern at the back, what we're going to do is start off with the bottom 2 cords, so the bottom cord on the left and right sides, and we're going to switch sides for these cords. We're going to seal the right cord end onto the left side and the left cord end on the right side. Now what we're going to do is find a nearby loop at the back, and then we're going to thread that cord end through. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. If you pull on those cord ends tightly, what you see at the front of the pattern should mesh well together as if the U-shaped sections continue. So we're going to repeat this for the next 2 sections up above. So the next 2 groups of left and right cords, we're going to thread them through the loops at the back. You can thread them through the same loops if there aren't too many options. So once that is done, once you have 3 groups of cords threaded through at the back, we're going to take our top 2 cords and we're going to just add some tape at the end so we can thread the bead through. Then take the tape off, and then we're going to seal the handle up at the top with an overhand knot. And then last but not least, cut off the excess cord ends at the back of the wreath. For this pattern, you will either need 3mm macrame cord or 4mm macrame cord, some string, and then also some ribbon. The materials I will be using today are a 1.5mm 2-ply string, as well as a 3mm single strand cord. Both of these are in natural and from our rainbow cord line. This is a nice and sturdy cord which holds up really well while untying knots, and it also gives a nice, soft, and beautiful aesthetic to the knots once finished. To begin, we're going to take our long strand of cord at 150 centimeters long and we're going to place it down horizontally. Then taking a second strand of cord, we're going to make a double half-hitch knot onto the left horizontal cord end. We're going to leave about 4 inches of space at the top end of the vertical cord, and then we're going to make a double half-hitch knot. Shift the knot down to the left until there's about 3.5 inches of space remaining on the left horizontal cord end. Taking the third strand of cord, make another double half-hitch knot on the right side. This time we're going to leave 5 inches on the top end. Now we're going to fold the right horizontal cord end over to the left, and we're going to make 2 double half-hitch knots at the bottom here to the left. Now repeat this pattern again by taking the anchor cord over to the right for a row of double half-hitch knots to the right, and then a row of double half-hitch knots back to the left. All you have to do is continue the same pattern back and forth until you have a total of 13 U-shaped patterns. So we've made 2 here now, make a total of 13. Once the pattern's done, we're going to stretch this pattern out so that the ends meet. And to do this, you can pull on the knots in between the U-shaped patterns, so that outer knot, to give it more space on the outside so that it will naturally curve together. Now we can take the middle 2 cords, once both the start and the ends are matched up together. We'll take the bottom 2 cords there and make a double half-hitch knot. Then pushing the cords through to the back, we're going to turn the pattern upside down, and with the next 2 cords up, so the next cord up on both sides, we're going to tie a double overhand knot at the back. Then with the top two cords up at the top, we're going to tie another double overhand knot. And then with the two cord ends at the top, make one large overhand knot to form a handle. Then at the back, cut off some of the excess cords, leave about a few inches left, and then now using our crochet hook, we're going to weave the cord ends through the loops at the back. Once the cord ends are threaded through some loops, we can now cut off the excess cord ends. And then finish tucking in the other two remaining cord ends. Once done, we're now going to take our ribbon, we're going to take a piece at about 10 inches long, and then we're going to tie a bow. Now taking a short strand of string at about 15 centimeters long, we're going to weave it through the back of the bow. Once weaved through, we're now going to weave these two string ends through to the top of the wreath pattern. Once both ends are weaved through to the back, we're going to tie a double overhand knot at the back. Now you can cut off the excess string ends. And we are now complete with this mini wreath pattern. And that's a wrap with our 6 macrame wreath ornament patterns. I want to hear from you guys which wreath patterns you guys like the most and why. Let me know in the comment section below. My personal favorite is the daisy knot patterns with beads, and that's because I love the versatility and the look of the daisy knot patterns, and plus it's relatively easy to make. If you guys haven't already, check out our macrame Christmas playlist for more macrame Christmas tutorials. And if you're looking for more intricate patterns like this macrame 3D angel that you can use as a tree topper or as a centerpiece for your table decor, patterns like this are available over on our exclusive community over on Patreon. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can head on over to patreon.com/BOCHIKNOT for more details. As always, happy holidays. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.